Shalom. First, we give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Kalkadash. And let's get into it with this article here. It says simulation found civil war could be triggered by exactly what ICE is doing right now. Yeah, because you got rioting going on out there in Minnesota. You got the elite, pulling the strings of the emotions of the people, the masses. They got protesters, paid protesters with this ICE. Even though both sides are playing the scenario, they're both involved, the left and the right, so-called Republicans and so-called Democrats, who nothing but Edomites at the end of the day. They're going with their move in order to swallow you American people up in a big net, a big trap on what they got set for you. Because they know, the dollar is crashing. It's getting lower and lower. And they know civil unrest is going to pursue. So they're stoking the flames of a civil war to get you people out here in these streets, you Americans, to arm up, to go at one another next and go after the government. So Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah is the ultimate puppet master who's stirring this thing up because America's getting ready to foreclose. I don't know, if you're not informed, you're not keeping up with the times, but America's on the way out. This place is done. And the only thing left is Jacob's trouble, man. Waiting for that to collapse, waiting for the economy to collapse, waiting for Jacob's trouble to kick off. So the hopeful elect, man, so we can get the hell out of here. We looking forward to Babylon, aka America, being shut down, being no more. We wanted to go to a land that's ours. We want to go to a kingdom that's ours. We're tired of getting sick, tired of dying, tired of coming back reincarnation after reincarnation and still under captivity. You got curses on you. You always got to count your money. You always got to watch your pocket. The way of America, this whole Western civilization, a Western way of living is lame, it's wicked, and it's played out. So Yahweh Shah is going to come back and take Esau Edom, the so-called white man, out of power. And his father, our power, the Most High Yahweh, he's stirring it all up in order for that to go down. Because it's been prophesied that, there's going to be a civil war, race war going on here in America. And these flames are getting hotter and hotter. Trump is keep teasing he's going to invoke the Insurrection Act. That's just a prelude to martial law. So Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah, the Most High Yahweh is stirring all this up, man. Esau's rule is coming to a close. His season is nearly over. Let's get some of this article here. It says, the most surefire way to achieve Civil War 2.0 in the United States, according to one wild simulation, is exactly what's happening right now in Minneapolis. In October 2024, researchers at the Center for the Ethics and Rule of Law, CERL, at the University of Pennsylvania conducted an experiment in which a president ordered a widely condemned federal law enforcement operation in the city of brotherly love to carry out the operation. The simulated president tried to federalize the Pennsylvania National Guard, which the governor resisted. National Guard troops who sided with state followed suit, prompting the fictional president to order acting U.S. military troops to march on Philly. According to CERL director Clary Finkelstein's breakdown of the simulation newly published in The Guardian, the experiment culminated in a violent confrontation between the state and federal forces in a major U.S. metropolis. So that's going on right now, man. Then, Tim Walz has activated the troops, the National Guard, and then you got, Trump saying he's gonna activate. He has the Pentagon on standby, and those National Guard troops, they're gonna, assist the local PD there in Minnesota, man, and Minneapolis. So this is going on right now. You got federal agents out there, ICE, Border Patrol. So this is looking like Civil War is going to kick off. And once Civil War kicks off, everything else is going to spiral out of control, man. Martial law, Jacob's trouble, the economy collapsing, hunger, famine, graping going on, lawlessness. All that's going to take place here very soon, man. And we're able to witness it. We're seeing the downfall of America, aka Babylon, Assyria, Nineveh, Sodom, Gomorrah, Egypt. All these places, of Roman and reincarnation, all these ancient empires, that America and the customs that America has taken on, the land of confusion, Babylon, America, we're actually seeing it go down finally in real time. Because, I've been on the planet for a little bit, and, I was growing up in the time where America was, somewhat still strong. Edom had the close-knit family. People my age, was seeing the wealth. And Esau, Edom, seeing them, they in control, they got the power. But now, fast forward to now, we see their power waning. We seeing they don't have it anymore. They don't have the close-knit families anymore. The wives hate them, the children hate them. They're miserable. And we're seeing the fall, people like myself, seeing the fall of Babylon, which I never thought would happen before I got into the truth. And it's a beautiful thing to see. It's a beautiful thing to see, man. It's just a bigger faith booster. That knowing that, hey, this nightmare is almost over, man. This nightmare is nearly over. It said Finkelstein notes that the war gaming exercise included actual government officials and former senior military leaders, none of whom considered the scenario unrealistic. The results were based off the assumption that during a rapidly evolving civil emergency like this, courts would be largely ineffective at stopping federal overreach. So that's why they're setting the tone up there in Minnesota right now, saying, hey, We can come into your house door to door without a judge warrant. We can just walk in your house, drag you out, say, "Hey, you're illegal, or you're an enemy of the United States government," and just haul you off, man. And and on that article, it had the so-called black woman on the front arguing because the target is you, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. You are the target for all this. They just using these Edomites that's protesting as the cover, but the real prey is the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans who are the true biblical Israelites. You're playing for the big roundup, and we're gonna get that, in the scriptures. It says, though the early stages of the Philadelphia assimilation closely matched the brutal events citizens in Minneapolis have experienced at the hands of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents, the model diverges from reality in one key way. Municipal and state officials don't seem interested in attacking ICE agents anytime soon. Well, they already changed that rhetoric. They talking about, hey, attack them. They want them out of the city. So we're going to see Civil War 2.0, whether it's from this incident or from somewhere else. It's eventually going to happen. And it's look like it's taking place right now. And this just might be the domino to fall to get this thing going, man. So hey, we're seeing the buildup of the troops. The National Guard is activated. ICE, DHS, not DHS, Border Patrol, and they sending one of the head honchos up there, Ton Holman, up there to Minneapolis, man. So this is about to get very interesting, man. This is going to spill over, Lord willing, into a civil war. And then on from there, man, it's just going to spread all over the country to every city and town with troops deployed. Like they said, hey, man, who is it? Pete Hegseth said by April, he needs at least 500 units or 500 people in the National Guard to be able to respond to, civil unrest, rioting. So we're seeing the end of Esau's empire, man. And I'm so excited, man. I'm so excited. Let's get some precepts. Romans 3:3. Well, what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of the Most High without effect? And the answer is no. We don't care that you don't get the prophecies. You don't believe that America is going to come to a close, that the American empire is going to collapse. Quite frankly, the elect, we don't give a damn, man. Lord willing, I'm of that number. We don't give a damn whether you believe this or not, whether it's going to be a civil war, whether it's going to be troops on the street coming after you, so-called Negro, Latinos, or Native Americans, man, ready to put you to death. We don't care if you don't believe it. You're going to see it, and then by the time you see it, it's going to be too late. And Jake has got that, unfaithful spirit, They have to see it to believe it. Well, believe me, you're going to see it. And when you do, if you're not part of the elect, you're going to regret it, man. This is second Esdras 15. Let's start at verse 15. It says, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. It's talking about Civil War 2.0. Modern day sword is the gun. And you people are going to fight against one another, man. And you're not going to be able to stop it once you get rolling. You know, you're going to stand up against each other, Republican, Democrat, you know. And you're going to be neck to neck in the streets together, man. Shooting at each other, stabbing each other, fighting. It's all going to be prophesied. It's all prophesied, man. And you're going to know there's been a prophet among you saying this for years upon years. And other various men like myself who's been saying this for longer. You know, the Spirit has given us the knowledge and the understanding of these scriptures and these prophecies, man, these precepts, in order to bring this to you. Because before I can bring it to you, you know, I got to believe, you know, I got to be given the spirit of wisdom, and I got to be able to have the spirit of faith, man. Like the scripture say, it was given to the elect from the beginning, roughly paraphrasing, you know, and being able to see it and have that eye salve to see the prophecies unfold and actually believe it, and be able to go out and teach it and repeat it. And now I'm actually witnessing it, man. Just like the men before me were able to see it, man. You know, Lord willing, this could be it. Trump, while he in office, this could be the last term, man. This could be the last go round for us. You know? Verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men. Yeah, men talking ill against the government. You know, talking about some type of uprising. And then you have a form of that in Minnesota right now. They're telling them to defy the orders of ICE, of Border Patrol, and you having attorneys or judges saying, "Hey, don't don't follow ICE, man." So they tell you to not follow the rule or law of America. So it's getting ready to turn into pure lawlessness, man. And they're gonna have to invoke the Insurrection Act and martial law, because there's gonna be more protesting and rioting and killing going on, man. The Most High is gonna heat this thing up into where they're gonna have to declare martial law, known as Jacob's Trouble, for you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans who are the true biblical Israelites. You're going to experience Jacob's Trouble here in Babylon, America, at 100%, man. It says, in invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Yeah, because people are going to want answers. You know, everybody's going to come, it's going to become vigilantes out here, vigilantes. And the kings and these princes, talking about these governors, these senators, the president, your representatives in your state and of your state. They're going to come looking for them and demanding answers. Yeah. It says, in the course of their action shall stand in their power, because they're going to have the power to, they're going to execute, they're going to be judge, jury, and executioner. Once all this is declared, you got these militias out here. You got these disgruntled people who are upset at the government, both on the left and the right. And they're going to be looking for these politicians, your mayors, your senators, your governors, and they're going to, do them the way they feel fit in that day. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. You're not going to be able to go and, reminisce on the times you were sharing good times in Mobile, in Jackson, in Baton Rouge, or in, Louisville, Kentucky. Wherever you get locked down at is where you're going to have to ride it out at. Because there's going to be military checkpoints all over, man. You're not going to be able to just up and go to Baton Rouge or Lake Charles or whatever the case may be. Or hell, even Slidell at that, if that matters, man. You're not going to be just up and go because the military is going to shut you down. There's going to be roadblocks, checkpoints, and they're going to be out here hunting you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and these other nations are going to get it too, man. Because the game is going to be to, quell civil unrest. And everybody's outside the military is going to be deemed terrorists, man. Domestic terrorists. And so they already framing that now, saying, I forget what side they were saying is domestic terrorists. I think when that guy, the Edomite, that nurse guy got his ass killed, they pretty much, with the language saying, hey, they calling the people protesting domestic terrorists, man. And we know how Esau Edom gets down, the so-called white man. He uses that word vaguely. The definition changes at any given moment, man. So we're living in some very interesting times, some beautiful times, man. So the hell with America and the 2/3 of the nation of Israel who don't believe. It's all about the elect and praying that, Yahweh Shah keep me faithful to the end and watch over me, man. And like-minded brothers, who are doing this truth and sincerity. But, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, man. Before I do, I'm going to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakodash, Shalom.